Welcome everyone to another episode of the Train Studio. I'm your host, Sean Morris. Tonight on the studio update, it's a studio update slash response to viewer questions. I'm just going to give you a rundown of what's going on the table. So today I was working on the tree bases, and I was just making sure that I got all the tree bases matched up nicely with the rounds. So as you can see here, I just finished up doing the bases on the trees, and then I went in and made sure all the circles matched up nicely for those, so that kind of fits in there a little more snugly. I had to do a little trimming just because of the added thickness of the snow that I added. It's got the fences laid down just because, again, I'm just remembering where each section goes. I'm going to be in the process of putting in the puddles of ice on the roadways. And I just started laying in some of the buildings just so you guys can get a sense of exactly what they look like when they're in position. What else was going on? Pretty much that's it. I finished up all those trees. This section here is obviously a little displaced. This whole row has just been shifted up one. That's why this row doesn't match up. It actually goes right there. So same thing down here. I just reorganized the trees, just did a little shaving around the edges and made sure they matched up where they're going. And this is obviously getting ready to lay the ice in as well. There's the Christmas Village. Just been working on that. What I'm doing right now, I'm just going in and I'm shaving the edge of the building so that the snow doesn't stick out any, and then it fits in the slots. So that's what I was working on here. And again, just to making sure that it sits flush in there, and then I'll I'll refinish that by adding the snow right up to those lips. In the video questions, somebody was asking me about if I'm using matte medium anymore or what I'm using to do the sealing. I don't have a bottle, but inside this plant sprayer here is actually the Scenic Cement, and that's Woodland Scenic's product, and that comes straight diluted already. So I'm not sure what the concentrate of that is, or if you can even buy it in concentrate, but it comes pre-diluted. So I've been using that to put down the snow, and I've already gone through a bottle and a half just sealing the tree bases and the buildings. So I've been flying through that stuff, but I think this is what they're referring to here. Hopefully it is the matte medium, and this is by Scenic Express. I'm just going to go ahead and read you the instructions on here. Well, a synopsis of them. You can use this straight out of the bottle as a concentrate, and that's good for your first layer. So if you're putting down your snow or your flock, basically you can brush the stuff right on straight out of the bottle, or pour it, whatever you want to do. And it's thick enough to grab your base layer. It may be a little bit patchy just because depending on the thickness, so you got to make sure that you do smooth it out. But it will become tacky and hold your first layer down quite nicely. If you're going to use it as sort of a spray, as a sealer or in between layer to lock down things, you want to dilute it 4-to-1 is what the bottle says. So I'd stick with that. And what you're going to do is you're going to put down the concentrate as your base layer, and then in between layers of flocking or snow, whatever you want to do, you give it a solid spray, you apply your next layer, and then what I do is do a little light spray over that to lock that down again. And then your final layer, you want to lock it down again. If you're doing snow, you can give it a really, really heavy saturation and just let that stuff penetrate all your layers, and that should really lock everything down. So I think I got like 4 bottles of this stuff, so you know I'm going to be using that like crazy, and I want to keep this snow locked down as best I can. Talking about locking the snow down, despite spraying all that Scenic Cement down here, there's still a little bit of stuff that'll flake off if you brush it hard enough, and I don't think that's going to be avoidable. But I think it's locked down to the point where it's not really going to expose any undertones, but everything's been pre-painted anyway, so it's not really going to create a huge deal. I'm just talking about not having a lot of snow like flake off on the table, but despite locking it in, I don't think that's ever going to be completely avoidable. So, you know, having a little bit of extra snow available, or if you're doing this with flocking, making sure you leave a little bit of your mix for patchwork, I think that's recommended. All my tables, I send a little bit of extra mix with it just to fill in those patches, because you never know what's going to happen. Somebody may drop a model, may gouge the table, somebody may, spill something and you need to kind of do a cover up or something. It's always good to have that sort of standing by, but certainly locking it in with a spray or a matte medium will just help to avoid those situations. So what else is going on in the studio? I mixed up some realistic water, and I'm doing some ice work. So what I did is take the realistic water and then the Woodland Scenics pigment, and then you mix that in with the realistic water. There's no said dilution pattern, it's just how opaque you want your ice. So I just eyeballed it and mixed it into a little mixing bottle here. So this is what I hope will be the ice that I will use. I'm not 100% sure. Right now I have a patch over here drying, so I just sort of spilt out a little bit onto my test board, and I'm going to let that dry and see how clear it gets. If it's too white, it doesn't dry clear, I'll just add more realistic water, and if it clears too much, I'll just add more pigment. If it's perfect, then I got a whole bottle and I'm ready to go. So that's just drying up, so I'll let you guys know probably in the AM maybe, or tomorrow evening. That should be clear enough, or to a point where it's going to stop clearing, and I'll just make a judgment call on that. What else was going on in video questions? Somebody was asking me about Russian lists that I ran into. I'm going to dive for that question just because I'd rather do a video talking about that, and maybe what I'll do is I'll talk about some of the Russian lists that I've ran into, and I guess you guys can use your judgment whether you think that's strong, because in speaking about lists in general, you can give a terrible player a great list. Doesn't mean the list is going to play amazing. You can give a great player a terrible list and they could beat the pants off you. So lists are very subjective. Again, I talk about playing to your strengths, playing to your style. So if you're not an aggressive player and you take an aggressive list, it's not going to perform optimally. If you take a defensive list and you're an aggressive guy, you're likely going to get mowed just because you're trying to do things that units aren't made to do. So I'll talk about Russian lists, and I'll talk about lists in general. I'm a German player, so if you really want to know about German stuff, that's my bread and butter. Certainly I can talk about Russian lists that I've played against. I've played a few. I used to own a Russian army, but again, it wasn't really my style, so I got rid of that rather quickly without playing it too much. But certainly I can talk a little bit about lists that I've seen. So that's upcoming. And I'm not really sure if there's too much else going on in studio. Again, it's just more of the same, finishing the village and then getting ready to... what I'm getting ready to do right now is, as soon as I get this ice done, I'm going to start doing the roads. And I think I mentioned in a previous video, but I am going to go in and do the roads very similar to this. So I think I'm going to start by laying down a little bit of a rise down each edge, and then I'll go in and hit a few patches on the high sections of the road, but I won't do that until I get the ice layer down. So that's going to take probably a night or two just to get that done, because it's kind of a tedious process getting that flex paste down, and then once the paste is down, it takes a full day to dry before you start laying stuff over it. And then I think I'm going to take a few days and get in there and really start doing details around buildings. You know, hide some wagon wheels, maybe make some mailboxes, you know, the usual stuff, some clotheslines, things like that, things to really accent these pieces and start bringing the buildings to life. So that's kind of where that's at. Obviously this wall I need to finish. I always tend to leave like one thing I know I need to finish. I just leave it, and I can't bring myself to go back and do that. Like, I did all the walls, I forgot to do this one, and now I got to do it, and it sits there forever, and I don't want to do it. I know that I have to finish a building. I got one structure left, and it's the bridge, and I just don't want to do it right now. I did bring myself to finish all the trees and get them all up to the same point, but that took some convincing in my own mind. So that's just kind of how I do projects. I always kind of tend to leave stuff lingering until I can no longer leave it. But I'm really happy with these buildings, and I think it's winterized enough. So I'm gonna put those on the table for inspiration, and hopefully that will inspire me to start doing some more of the actual snow laying. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the project. Staying tuned for all the updates, and I promise I'll keep them going, and I'm looking at maybe third week in November try to finish this up, but no promises there. But nonetheless, you guys will get lots of updates. So thanks for watching. Catch you guys in the next video. Cheers.